Welcome to Read in Minutes. Here's a short summary of the book, American Gods by Neil Gaiman. If you enjoy it, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Now let's get started. Neil Gaiman's novel American Gods is a complex and imaginative story that blends elements of fantasy, mythology, and the modern world. The book follows the journey of Shadow Moon, an ex-convict who becomes entangled in a conflict between the old gods, who have faded into obscurity, and the new gods, who represent modern obsessions like technology, media, and consumerism. The novel is rich in themes of belief, identity, and the power of myth, offering readers a thought-provoking exploration of America's cultural landscape. The story begins with Shadow Moon, a man who is serving time in prison and eagerly counting down the days until his release. He dreams of reuniting with his wife, Laura, and starting a new life. However, just before his release, Shadow receives devastating news: Laura has died in a car accident. This tragedy shatters Shadow's hopes and leaves him adrift, with no clear purpose or direction. On his way to attend Laura's funeral, Shadow meets a mysterious man who calls himself Mr. Wednesday. This enigmatic figure seems to know a great deal about Shadow, including his recent loss. Mr. Wednesday offers Shadow a job as his bodyguard, and although Shadow is initially hesitant, he eventually accepts the offer. With nothing left to lose and no future to return to, Shadow decides to follow this strange man and see where the journey takes him. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that Mr. Wednesday is not an ordinary man. He is, in fact, the Norse god Odin, one of the many old gods who have been forgotten or abandoned by modern society. These old gods were brought to America by immigrants who believed in them. But as time passed and their worshippers either died or lost faith, the gods lost their power and influence. Mr. Wednesday is on a mission to gather these old gods and prepare them for an impending war against the new gods. The new gods represent the modern world's obsessions and fears, such as technology, media, and globalization. Unlike the old gods, who draw their power from the belief and worship of their followers, the new gods thrive on the attention and devotion of a society that is increasingly dependent on and captivated by modern conveniences. Shadow accompanies Mr. Wednesday on a road trip across America, visiting various places of power and recruiting old gods to their cause. Along the way, they encounter a diverse array of deities from different mythologies and cultures, including Mad Sweeney, a foul-mouthed leprechaun, Chernobog, a Slavic god of darkness who wields a hammer, and Mr. Nancy, a charming incarnation of the African spider god Anansi. Each of these gods has their own story and struggles, reflecting the challenges of surviving in a world that has largely forgotten them. The new gods are powerful and arrogant beings who have grown strong in the modern era. They embody the ideals and fears of contemporary society, such as the internet, technical boy, mass media, and globalization, Mr. World. These gods are threatened by Mr. Wednesday's plans to rally the old gods, seeing them as outdated relics that need to be eliminated. The new gods attempt to intimidate and bribe the old gods into submission, offering them a place in the New World Order if they abandon Mr. Wednesday's cause. However, many of the old gods are tired of being marginalized and forgotten, and they are willing to fight for their place in the world. The tension between the old and new gods sets the stage for an epic battle, with Shadow caught in the middle of this supernatural conflict. As Shadow travels with Mr. Wednesday, he encounters many strange and surreal experiences. He is often visited by vivid and symbolic dreams, including one where he meets a buffalo-headed man who offers cryptic advice. These dreams are a hint at Shadow's own mysterious heritage, which becomes increasingly important as the story progresses. Shadow's journey takes him to various locations across America, each with its own unique atmosphere and significance. One of the most notable stops is the house on the Rock in Wisconsin, a bizarre and whimsical tourist attraction that serves as a meeting place for the old gods. Here, Shadow witnesses the gods in their true forms and begins to understand the gravity of the situation he has been drawn into. As Shadow learns more about the gods and their struggles, he begins to question his own beliefs and identity. He realizes that the old gods are not just myths, they are real beings who live and die based on human belief. The new gods, on the other hand, have grown powerful because people have shifted their attention and faith to modern conveniences and technology. Shadow's journey is not just about surviving in a world of gods and monsters, it is also about discovering who he truly is and what he believes in. After a particularly intense encounter with the new gods, Mr. Wednesday instructs Shadow to lie low in a small, seemingly idyllic town called Lakeside. Here, Shadow tries to blend in and lead a quiet life, even as he continues to have unsettling dreams and visions. He befriends the town's residents, including a friendly old man named Hinzelman, who regales him with local legends and stories. However, Shadow soon begins to sense that there is something off about Lakeside. Despite its outward appearance of tranquility, the town hides dark secrets, and Shadow becomes increasingly suspicious of its too-perfect facade. As he investigates further, he uncovers a disturbing pattern of disappearances and strange occurrences that point to a sinister force at work. While on Lakeside, Shadow also continues to communicate with Laura, who has mysteriously returned from the dead. Although she is not fully alive, Laura plays a crucial role in the story, often coming to Shadow's aid when he is in danger and pushing him to confront the truths he has been avoiding. As the story unfolds, Shadow learns a shocking truth about his own identity: he is the son of Mr. Wednesday, making him a demigod. This revelation explains why Shadow has always felt different and why he is able to see and interact with the gods. However, this knowledge also places a heavy burden on him, as he realizes he is a pawn in a much larger game, caught between the machinations of the old and new gods. Shadow's discovery of his divine heritage forces him to reevaluate everything he thought he knew about himself and the world around him. He begins to understand that the conflict between the gods is not just about power, it is also about survival, belief, and the very nature of existence. Shadow's journey becomes one of self-discovery, as he learns to embrace his true identity and find his place in a world where gods walk among mortals. The tension between the old and new gods reaches its peak as both sides prepare for a final, cataclysmic battle. Mr. Wednesday, ever the strategist, rallies the old gods, using his cunning and charisma to persuade them to join the fight. Meanwhile, the new gods, led by the ruthless Mr. World, plot to wipe out the old gods once and for all. However, as the battle draws near, Shadow begins to sense that there is more to the conflict than meets the eye. He discovers that Mr. Wednesday and Mr. World have been working together all along, orchestrating the war to create chaos and feed off the energy generated by the conflict. Their true goal is not to win the war but to use it as a means of regaining their lost power and influence. The story reaches its climax at Rock City, a place of power where the final confrontation between the old and new gods is set to take place. Just as the battle is about to begin, Shadow steps in and reveals the truth: the war has been a manipulation from the start, orchestrated by Mr. Wednesday and Mr. World for their own benefit. Shadow's revelation shocks the assembled gods, causing them to question their motivations and the true nature of the conflict. The war is called off, and the gods disperse, realizing that they have been used as pawns in a larger game. Mr. Wednesday's plan ultimately fails, and he is killed by one of the other gods. Mr. World, who is revealed to be Loki, the Norse trickster god, also meets his end. With the conflict resolved, Shadow returns to Lakeside to confront the town's dark secret. He discovers that Hinzelman, the seemingly harmless old man, is actually a powerful god who has been sacrificing children to ensure the town's prosperity. Shadow confronts and stops Hinzelmann, putting an end to his reign of terror. Having resolved the conflicts in both the mortal and divine realms, Shadow decides to leave his old life behind and start anew. He reflects on everything he has learned during his journey, coming to terms with his losses and finding a sense of peace. Shadow realizes that he no longer needs to be defined by the gods or his past. He can forge his own path, free from the burdens of myth and legend. American Gods is a richly layered and thought-provoking novel that explores the intersections of myth, belief, and identity in modern America. Through the character of Shadow Moon, Neil Gaiman examines how the old and new gods represent the changing landscape of human faith and the power of storytelling. The novel challenges readers to consider what they believe in, how those beliefs shape the world around them, and the enduring influence of myths in a constantly evolving society.